Yes, here we go. It is the TNF. It's the night we hand over the keys to yous. And look who is back fresh from his pre-season training, even though it's the season started. What a diva we've got in the squad who goes away on holiday once the season has begun. Mark, the Judge Kearney, is with us. Great to have you back on. And as I've not actually had a chance to ask you off air, how are you, Mark?
I'm doing very well, thanks very much, mate. Well, it's a bit of a lie, to be honest with you. I'm a bit fucking
Football
frustrated
aside.
with the rest is. But hey ho, oh no, how are you?
Yes, mate, good. And was thoroughly looking forward to getting a chat with you. Hopefully it was going to be on a more positive note. But I'm expecting a busy one because I'm sure a lot of the people will be tuning in to get your, your very judge-like sort of thoughts on what was a shambles last night, as far as I'm concerned, and what has been a summer of absolute despondence from Celtic, a summer where the board have down tools. Rodgers sounds like he's mirroring it by downing tools. I keep going back to my wee quote that I've used a couple of days ago. I'm going to stick to it. I don't know your thoughts on it, but I feel right now, Mark, Rodgers is, as the only spokesman for Celtic right now, he is having to field all questions off the ball and on the field questions regarding Celtic. And I feel rather than I would rather just started being a prick and telling the truth like he did 3 years ago. Right now, this is the quote I keep saying. He's trying to say everything to everyone.
Yeah.
It never works, Mark. It does not work. And before you come in, your Wi-Fi is completely cleared up, mate. You're now crystal clear. So that must have just been a wee tech issue when we were backstage, mate. But yeah, just your overriding thought, mate, on what was a really, really dull, uninspiring, mediocre display from Celtic last night, which resulted in a drab 0-0 draw, which leaves a hell of a lot of work to do in a place where we've never actually won away from home in 3 attempts so far. This is attempt number 4, I believe. And obviously, when you combine that with the window, just take it away, mate. But very quickly, all that good stuff, like, share, subscribe, all that crap. But aye, just your overriding thoughts, Mark, on the window, and then obviously when it culminates in last night as a whole.
Well, I think the two of them are pretty much aligned. I think the window, as you said, summed up the football we seen last night. Unimaginative. Quite frankly, no good enough. You know what I mean? There was no spark in it. There was no direction that I could see. There seemed to be players just flung in at certain positions just to see what would happen, hoping something would happen. And that's just seems to be the club's strategy just now. Hoping something happens, hoping somebody grabs the team with the scruffy neck and just pulls over the line. I mean, I wasn't surprised. I told my dad yesterday morning, I don't think Celtic will win any of the ties, home or away. And I'm not just saying that for effect. I genuinely don't think Celtic have got the firepower to break down teams that are well organised. I mean, even if you go back to the St Mirren game, that was a last-minute goal. You know what I mean? Aberdeen had only played 3 pre-season friendlies, one cup match, one league match. They were in this situation, a position to play Celtic. Celtic still made it look like a hard task. I thought the Falkirk game and all 4-1, brilliant result. But when you broke it down, an own goal, a defensive mistake, a corner kick, and a defender, Kieran Tierney, with a bit of class. It wasn't as if it was a masterclass, and we still managed to lose a goal there. So these things all add up to no much surprise last night. I mean, the club after park are behaving in such a pathetic way that it's beginning to spill onto the players, and the fans aren't immune to that. The fans can't go there and pretend everything's rosy. I didn't go last night. My ticket just sat in my jacket. I couldn't get away, boys, as you know. I couldn't give it away. Saturday might be the same situation. I'm even looking forward to that. If I even go, to be quite honest with you, I'm fed up with it. And you look at the transfer window. I mean, and I'm not going to point us too grown about previous windows, but again, we've seen this coming, boys. I mean, you look at the stadium. There was a storm. It was a storm last year. I think it was last November. It's not been fixed up. You got a training centre that is supposed to open up in February. That looks like it's been in an abandoned structure. There's nothing going on there. It looks like it's built, but it's not built. You've got the board or the club or the security people causing havoc within the stadium. With people who are buying season tickets, they can't go to the concourse, they can't go to the toilet without bringing their tickets with them. I heard folk were getting asked for ID within the stadium. Carnage all over the place. You've got every single structure of the club that we thought was sound, even the small details like fixing up the outside of the stadium. In previous years, boys, you wouldn't have never ever considered Celtic no fixing that. It may be done on the cheap and look tacky, but Celtic was still
Has it
fixed.
been done yet?
No, it's not been done. It's been left tacky. It's been left, boys. You know, you look
I'm
at this. It's been,
astounded at that.
no, that's why I'm surprised, boys. I'm genuinely surprised. That's one of the things that surprises me. And
I'd
just
seen the photo, Mark, but I didn't realise it was still an ongoing thing. I
I
presumed
was
it was something that
still
maybe took a few days. Someone's got in quick, got a photo. Do you know what I
no.
mean?
But boys,
Wow.
that happened. That happened. I think it was last November. So there's been
Oh,
a few,
really?
yeah. There's been
Oh,
there's been
okay.
like 3 or 4 extended breaks, including international breaks, or even weeks that we had before home matches that could have been fixed. It's just an utter shambles, boys, from start to finish. And you look at how we're supposed to be dealing with it as a fan base. You know, we've got folk telling us we kind of get angry and we have to sit back and applaud the board's efforts. I can kind of like brush that off, boys. I can just, they're apologists. You're never going to win again with the people. But Brendan Rodgers is, you see, he's in a kind of halfway house. He's kind of like trying to please both sections. I think he's also playing a bit of a blinder as well, because a few weeks ago he gave us a fantastic press conference. He was on the money. And then they watered it down dramatically the following week. You know what I mean? And you thought, oh fuck, he's been told things are going to be getting improved or whatever, or he's maybe backed in a wee bit. But then again last night, when the result was 50-50 on the board and the management, 50-50, I think he chose to remind us all that the club have let him down. And don't get me wrong.
Do the questions lead him into that though as well? That's
Yes. Well,
I think sometimes the quotes can misplace it a wee bit when you actually see the
there
lead
was
question.
one.
Do you know what I
There was
mean?
one point. I know. Listen, you're totally. I mean, the questions were definitely doing the path of how the club was getting run. And he asked about the chance for sack your board, and he said, "Well, normally that means sack your manager." And I know what it means. But there's also a very interesting part of the press conference last night, which I'm going to play you just now. You might not have heard it, boys. I'm going to play it.
Oh, this is a new feature on the bus.
It's okay.
And for that, it's getting players in, getting the team prepared to the best level that you possibly can, and then going on journeys that can excite supporters and create great memories. You know, that's why I'm here, in order to do that. So it's not about control. I just want what's the best for Celtic.
Does it feel like that alignment is there at the moment?
Well, listen, at this moment in time, the focus is on the team. Focus is on us getting through into the group stages, and that's my only focus.
That's not a man who is sitting back in the board and taking stray punches on the board's behalf. That is a man telling you that he does not think the board and him are going in the same direction.
Yeah.
That is, as you said last night flippantly, terminado, in my opinion, boys.
Mm-hmm.
He's no saying these buzzwords. There's none of these headlines getting put out there. But it is roughly the same sort of stuff. It was also quoted and says, "There's only so many ways I can dress this up."
Yeah, he did say that.
That's not something you say to. If you're working customer services, you don't say that to a customer. That's something you say behind the scenes, boys.
See what he was actually. It was what he was trying to say there, though. If my memory serves me right, was there's only so many ways I can, or there's only I can't dress it up any more ways than I have about. We need more players, because he was also trying to say, like, I'm getting tired of this question. There's only so many different like vocabulary I can use to answer it. Like you already know, and I think the one thing that's really frustrating, and God, I'm gonna have to say it. The wee fella was on the old Sky Sports, right? And there's a wee notification on YouTube from Celt88, who used to watch the channel quite a lot, and he posts a lot of Celtic media coverage and stuff. So whenever I get a wee notification, I click on it, and it was the wee fella on Sky Sports representing the other pod. And do you know what? He was fucking good, mate. And he was up against quite a strong character in Dara McAntony, I think his name is, at the head honcho at Peterborough. Not Barry Fry. This guy's been chief executive for about 15 years, but whenever he's on TalkSport or Sky Sports, he literally says what he means what he says. She's quite direct, and you've got to hand it. The wee fella spoke a lot of sense about the balancing act. And the point that he made, obviously still watches the bus, is because he was saying Rodgers right now is the only voice. And this is exactly what I said last night. You have got a guy hung out to dry here whose words are going to be cut, pasted, twisted, no matter what road he wants to go down. So for me, it'd be go out in your shield like you did the last time. You know, I think you'll be stubborn enough to see out the season because he's just made that fucking promise to himself. But see, the other promises that he's made to himself is, I'm not going to be a smart ass to impress us when I'm pissed off. I'm not, I regret. I think he wants to do everything he can to, when he leave here, shake all the fans' hands metaphorically. Do you know what I mean? Say 3 years, job done, right? You know, there was none of those wee cheap shots in the media, which weren't cheap shots, by the way. They were fucking fair. I look back now and there's a bit of me going, do you know what's now going to happen? You're going to be accused of not being assertive enough, Brendan, with the media. You're going to start hearing Angie's quotes of maybe I've not been forceful enough in my sort of pursuit of better players at the club. When Ange said that in his first transfer window, by the way, which is all looked back on as this amazing window where Ange had carte blanche. He had to say that in his first summer window. I'm maybe not being forceful enough with the message. And digs like that. Now, I think Brendan is trying not to make that big sort of dramatic phrase that gets used and repeat and makes him look like a Snyder as and when he leaves at the end of the season. For me, I would just go out on your shield, mate. And if I were in his shoes right now, I would say you've got nothing to lose because you're not getting anything back from the Board side anyway. Look, you've just brought on Yang and you've started James Forrest, who's just started the Champions League qualifier. I think that's the first qualifier he started in about 4 or 5 years. Someone said that. It could not be true, but I'm going to roll with it anyway. And when Yang's coming on bringing energy to the team, now, yes, I agree with you, by the way, the 50-50 thing. There is still many flaws in that performance that's football level. And that's all his mind should be on, mate. But there is distractions.
That's what he's
and
saying
he
as well.
warned ahead of the game that the negative energy from all this, I'm very much trying to prevent creeping into the squad like it did the AEK nights. Now, when he's saying that, of course, that's when it's time. And obviously being pitched, I would guess, to these guys in the boardroom to go in front of the media. Take the heat off the manager with these questions and nip them in the bud. Even if you're talking pish. Tell us about a strategy that doesn't exist. Tell us about your vision. But get that focus away from Brendan so he can deal with the football matters. Because this sideshow is all going to turn into Brendan saying things that, well, I think Dice Maida now is apparently away because he says, you know, you still get paid by Celtic even if you did have. Everyone's now jumped to the conclusion that's Maida. Again, there's people getting paid, mate, 870 grand at Celtic. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Mr. Nicholson. Other clubs, mate, have these guys in office out there fronting, whether it be club channel hosted fucking interviews one-to-one, whether it be sit-down interviews on the BBC radio stations. It's not difficult to be a wee bit more transparent. They're hanging him out to dry with all the off-field stuff. He's became, as the wee fella said, the club spokesman for all matters Celtic this summer. And I think when you're doing that, and with the regret Brendan has about his first tenure, the saltiness, shall we say, of the departure, and you're trying not to let that happen again, I think instead he's becoming a bit wishy-washy. And I'll repeat, I think he's trying to say everything to everyone. Are you still there, Mark? Mark has froze. He looks like he's very thoughtful, though, in the pose that he's in. We'll remove him the new. I'm not sure if he's back or not. No, he's no. Right, anyway. But yes, hopefully Mark will get his stream sorted and he'll get back on. He was having a couple of Wi-Fi issues before we went on. But of course, we're always keen to get the views of the judge. Ryan Kearney comes in. If you can't have Mark Kearney, why not get his brother on? And here he is. And Ryan says that post-match interview was McGregor's worst moment. A Celtic jersey. I lost a lot of respect for him. I'll back him to the hill until the day he leaves. But that last night didn't sit with me. Ryan, go just put a couple of quotes up there to what you're referring to. And we can maybe, chew the fat on that. No problem at all. The There's McLaughlin. I agree, P. McLaughlin. He is a bit of a sitting duck. There's Mark back. Happy days, mate. I know you'll be getting frustrated, mate. Don't worry about it. It happens. You can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I put on my personal hotspot, boys. I don't know what's going on with my Wi-Fi. I apologise to you and anybody that's watching, mate.
The picture's not great, but we can hear you crystal clear, and that's the main thing, mate. As long as we can hear you, I'm happy with that. No, it's fine. It's not that bad, mate.
Okay.
Just you crack on with your views. So,
I mean, I
was on a bit of a rammy there. I don't know where. I don't know where you would have heard me up till, but essentially, I'm just saying, whether I like to admit it or not, I thought the wee fella was all right on Sky today when he was saying basically he's became the de facto club spokesman for all matters Celtic, Mark. And to be honest with you, see when you're fielding that many different types of questions regarding the football club, and there has been obviously a lack of support from the board, and then there's poor performances as well. He's given too many answers to too many subject matters, and the problem he's got is he's trying to keep everyone sweet, and therefore I feel he's going to trip himself up trying to say everything to everyone. You still there, mate? He's froze again. Oh dear, we're having a shock. I think it'll just be my ramblings. I don't know. If you want to just jump out again, Martin, jump back in, that's absolutely fine, pal. That's fucking annoying when that happens, eh? Michelle, as the Calmac quote. Oh, there he is. He's back. Mark, can you hear me?
Yeah. I'm trying to get this. I'm trying to put my Wi-Fi on, mate. It's doing my fuck.
Nah, you keep freezing. But yeah, the Calmac quote says, Calmac said we would go over to Kyra and win, no problem. Surely that's not quite what he meant. I mean, I think he would be meaning surely the mindset is to go over there and win. That would be no problem for them to have that positive mindset. And there's the Celtic blog coming in. James Forrest, nice to see you, mate. Obviously, I've been reading James's blog since about 2011. Do you know what I mean? And do you know what I like? Very similar to Mark, I suppose, in that sense. We have on this channel, we're fortunate enough to have as a pundit on. Says what he means what he says. Can roll with the punches on it. You know, never going to be flavour of the week all the time when you speak your truth, but comfortable enough in his own skin to tell the truth. And sadly, the Celtic blog will probably be feeling one of the worst ones. One of the worst types of feeling is it's I told you so, but it's not a good I told you so. It's probably where he's sitting right now, which I think there is a few people, and it's really, really, really frustrating. But yeah, I think when we look at the Brendan conundrum, my focus right now, because of the lack of bold activity, I'm probably being a wee bit narrow-minded and sort of focusing everything on the off-field stuff. And I probably have given too much of a pass, even in my own mind, let alone like what I've said on this channel and stuff last night and today, about the actual performance itself, because the scrutiny on that doesn't deserve a pass, because Celtic still did have enough tools to beat Kyrat. Celtic had enough quality in their squad to beat Kyrat. If we want to see continued investment in the team, imagine what Kyrat thought looking at our squad and compared with the investment they've been capable of putting into theirs. Albeit, I think they were underestimated by many in the fans sort of circles. That's fair enough, by the way, because absolutely none of us are expected to be keeping up with Kazakhstan football. Do you know what I mean? But some pundits, etc., or fan media podcasters, if you like. I didn't remember getting much sort of noise about, oh, they've got a guy Chelsea have got already signed up, insights like that I think I put people a wee bit more on guard going into the game. Mark, you're back. We'll see how long you last. Just talk about whatever you want, mate. I'm ready for it, mate.
I heard you mentioning that young boy for Chelsea. I think if we're in a situation where a boy who turned 17, was it last week, if he's the difference and can cause havoc to a Celtic team that's costing about £100 million to assemble and a £3 million a year manager, then we're in more trouble than we're letting on, boys, to be quite honest with you. But I do understand where you're coming from. I think the Kazakhstan League I don't know where it sits in the European rankings, but we should be beating teams like that with a reserve set up, boys. But I think the biggest problem was laid bare last night. There's no attacking threat whatsoever. And you can't keep expecting to throw Hail Marys like Dies in Maeda and hopefully he fixes it for you. I think Maeda had a fairy tale season last season, but we all know that he's got a touch of an elephant. You know what I mean? He's going to shoot the ball into the top tier probably 8 times out of 10, unless he's on good form like he was last year. So if Celtic or anybody is expecting to see the return we seen last season from Maeda, they need to kind of focus on the fact he's been here for this is his 4th season, and the bigger picture is he's a fantastic workhorse, but he'll not give you that cutting edge voice. You know what I mean? He's more liable to hit the corner flag than he is the top corner. But so poor is our left wing position and strike force where he's become the only option that's viable in both positions, you know. And I think that's why I was so negative last night at the end of the game. I thought we've not got a cutting edge that can break down a team that's well organised. I mean, you take this team to Tynecastle, boys, saying they'll do the same tactics. They'll go down for a minute or two at a time. They'll barge us after the ball. They'll be more physical than Celtic. They'll press us and all the rest of it. We'll find it very difficult. I was watching another podcast and they did a kind of scouting report on this team, and the outlying factor, overlying thing I seen was that when you get them on a counter attack, their width is terrible. You can run amok on each swing, and Celtic had none of that last night. Kieran Tierney had a wee drop of a shoulder once and got to the byline, but I also thought he was pretty poor last night. I don't think Arthur Johnson did fuck all when he was on the park either. Ralston did no a lot either. I mean, and we were just resorting to long balls, and when you get long balls in the second half to Dies in Maeda, who's hoping the ball doesn't skip out of the park by the time he gets to it, then that's not a tactic. You know what I mean? And you've got a midfield that's so unbalanced. You know what I mean? I keep on hearing people tell me it's the best part of your squad is the midfield. It's just so unbalanced. You can't just have players like good football players. I just think that makes a good midfield. That's not how it works, boys. It has to be more balanced than that. Who's going here? Who's driving forward? What we got to do if their defence is sitting here? Just seems to be a case of, well, Hatate will do something. McGregor will find a pass. Neekran will maybe do something. Like Neekran last night again, I thought he was invisible. And
there was no spark to Celtic, full stop,
no,
Matt.
The only spark we had, boys, he was sitting on the bench, and the only one I felt that could have drove at that team was like McKibben. And it's a bad situation when a guy who would be 5th or 6th choice 3 years ago, you're looking at yourself and saying, why the fuck was he on that park at some point last night? You know what I mean? That is how I keep on saying this. I used this quote about 2 years ago. We're seeing a downsizing in expectations and a downgrading in standards. And it's happening year on, year out. And we're at a stage now where
it's generational now, Matt.
Yeah, well, but we're at a stage now where, boys, where you're now beginning to negotiate with yourself. You're saying, right, we're not going to get a £7 million striker. Well, what if we can even get a loan to January? Or, you know, I mean, why are we even negotiating ourselves? What's that?
Yeah, well, this is it. Now it's the polls you'll see on social media and things like this, Matt, will be Celtic fans. And by the way, they don't mean bad, so it's not like but it'll be, would you take Vardy on a free? Right, no. It's the 21st of August. He's been a free transfer available for 9 weeks. He's 39 in January. And just as you very, very cleverly pointed out, that is an exact example of negotiating with yourself about the loan of your own standards by going, would you take James? Would you take James Vardy now? The fact you're asking that at this stage, one playoff round for a 40 million bounty, and in a sporting sense, the best football club competition in the world is at stake. We're one leg of that down, or halfway through that, and we're now going, would you take Vardy? I mean, don't talk bollocks to me about strategy or any of that nonsense, because that isn't a strategy. And I think, again, when we say about Brendan trying to appeal to everyone, Mark, and maybe trying to, not upset, not the thing is with the board, who have been hiding, obviously, and leaving Brendan to do their sort of their bidding for them in terms of the media. The signing of Vardy is more exposing to their lack of any plan, any strategy whatsoever. If that were to go through, that no interview would be required after that. I don't now need to listen to Lawwell or Nicholson. Do you know why, Mark? Because I know they're going to tell you lies. Because that signing there would absolutely symbolise the fact there is no plan, there is no strategy. It is literally make it up as you go along.
Well, we keep on getting told that the strategy is wait till as late on as possible to get them cheap. No, that isn't the strategy, because we've tried to buy players about 4 or 5 times this window. We've just bid that ridiculously that they've been laughed out of the room. So that the strategy isn't even to do that. At least
It's
that
funny
would
that we
be.
don't sell, like we don't take
I
that
know,
attitude
but
room with the selling club.
it'd be funny if that no, sorry, not funny. Even if it did that, that'd be some sort of strategy if that was the case. But they've already tried to buy these players, and they've been knocked back because they've went in with ridiculous offers already. So it's not like Celtic have went, okay, we'll just keep our powder dry and we'll go in the last 2 weeks. No, the guys you want have already been targeted. You've approached the clubs, you've been laughed out of the fucking room. It's just because you're trying to get the players with the cheapest possible way. I've seen about 3 or 4 different reporters quoting, and I had Rogers say it as well, quoting value for money. You know what I mean? What's value for money? I mean, what is value? You're a football club. You don't get value for money. You can't be the same club that's spouting for value for money when you're expecting to get £1.3 million for Marco Tilio. When you get £4 million for fucking Burnaby. When you're asking for £30 million for Matt O'Reilly. That's another laugh. 17 million for Nicholas Kuhn, who played 4 months of good football. You can't. I mean,
do you know what I love about that as well? It's so funny because the one hand they use the argument that, hey, there's a lot of clubs still trying to work out their European fate, so they don't want to sell their assets till they know what competition they'll be in. I think you adopted that strategy as well, Celtic, when the door got knocked by Nicholas Kuhn, yeah? No, we just sold. So what were you going to do about the wingers? Well, see that Tilio, who we've never really played before in our life, we decided to prevent him leaving just so we never left Brendan Short. See this, mate? Like all this stuff, it baffles me that people think this is how to operate. I put out my tweet, Mark, and it was actually, I'm sure, on a chat with yourself where I kind of worked out the numbers a couple of weeks ago. I said, you know, but if you remember, I said Celtic under this regime have missed out in Champions League windfalls that have been available to them, more than double what the much lauded cash reserve of £100 million is in the bank. So what's celebrated about these being, yeah, Celtic, they're still good at business, they're the best run club in the world. No one looks at what the other potential earnings are. All they look at is the cash in the bank. It'd be like me, Mark, on my busiest night there, say Christmas Eve at the pub, right? Taking £5,000 in the till, for example, sometimes happens, very rarely, and then not doing a stock take the next day and turning out that one of the barmaids was giving all the drink away for free, and I could have made 10. But I just packed a sell in the back for the record sales that night because I've never seen £5,000 in the till before. Do you get me? Does that make sense? Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is the missed opportunities no one seems to be looking at. The missed opportunities, and they are there in black and white. When it comes to Champions League, this, if we do fail in Kazakhstan next week against Almaty, Kairat, whatever you want to call them, I read somewhere, I could be wrong, but this would be our 5th year, I've stuck it in the tagline for the show anyway, fuck it, get the headlines. This would be our 5th qualifying campaign for the Champions League in a row that we failed to qualify for the group stage.
Well, it's not surprising. I mean, I was talking to you, I think it was last night. I mean, I think it's been twice now in the last 15 years we've been knocked out of Europe, then let back in due to a technicality. I'm sure it was Braga and then Legia Warsaw. Doesn't seem to get a mention anywhere.
We then lost the next leg, the next tie after Legia Warsaw, believe it or not.
And both occasions we did it.
But forget about that,
and you forget Malmo's put us out, you forget Cluj, Ferencváros, all these teams that maybe are beaten of endeavour by the board would have probably navigated us to enough. But there's also the things that you can account.
AEK Athens.
There's also the things that you can account as well, like player sales in between that period. They go up exponentially when you qualify for the Champions League. You mean you don't get £21 million for for Matt Riley for beating Inverness Cali and clacking the Cuddon. You only get these types of fees when you play well, when you get in Europe, the Champions League. And I go back to it. All the money in their bank has been brought through by the fans, by kit deals with the fans buy into, of course, and then the Champions League football that's been both hands by Rangers helping us over the line to get that, because we don't qualify, as you just said there, through qualifiers. And on top of the qualification money, the player trading model that's lauded, which isn't very good at Celtic, it just sounds good. When you think 9 out of 10 is 9 out of 10 signings that Celtic make are duds, you know what I mean? You just look at the
ratio, mate, is unreal.
The ratio. Well, you look at every single player that's been brought in by Rodgers. No, sorry, in Rodgers' time, the first window, I think the only one that's still in the building is what do you call him? Bernardo, and I think he should be the next one out. But it looks at, you know what I mean.
And by the way, could I just jump in on that? I just want your thoughts very quickly, because I know you are very much active on the old X.com, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, right? And in the Celtic sphere, Mark, right? Now, have you noticed the wee shift, which is so clever how the board condition the fan base, right? And I'm not saying they get the majority of them on board all the time, but they get always a significant percentage, right? To shift their mindset to what the board want them to, without them knowing they're doing it. How many tweets have we seen recently saying, also, look at Rodgers' record in the transfer market. Wouldn't trust him with it. So these dud signings now, right? It was either his best window, which was last summer, they decided to bring them in too late to save themselves some money and ended up paying more. Again, brilliant business, best run club in the world. But the other windows, he's not been backed. 9 in a row, mate. 9 in a row. It's the third 9 in a row Celtics ever went for, ever achieved. 9 in a row duds, signed, not needed. Right? That's now going to come back. History will rewrite itself, Mr. Kearney, and will become every signing in Brendan Rodgers' tenure were Rodgers signings. Watch it. And that's how this will then turn into, do you know what? Maybe it was best not to trust him with money that, after, even though rewarding him for achievements such as winning the league 2 years in a row, getting to the last 24 of the Champions League last year, selling his assets for big profits, turning Matt O'Reilly, who's on the bench under Postecoglou, for his Aussie pal, right? Rodgers 1 year turns him into £30 million. Rather than reward the manager for these sort of achievements, Mark, what they've managed to do is get a certain percentage of the fan base, a substantial one at that, to now start looking at Rodgers not being the guy for transfers, maybe. So actually, when you look at it, maybe the board are right here. Don't trust him with your money. It's fucking amazing how they do this shit, mate. They should be in government. There's no two ways about it.
Oh, I've seen it last night myself, folks saying maybe it's why he's not getting trusted. Well, the reason why trusty Engels and Ida cost so much is because of the board waited that long into the window that they became desperate and had to pay over the odds. They 3 players combined is probably £10-11 million if you're being realistic. But it wasn't Rodgers' fault that we made an arse of the window and waited to the last minute. You know what I mean? Definitely not. So you can't put that one. In fact, even if you want to just select the players and forget their price tags, had Ida had any form of competition last night, neither Engels, Ida or Trusty would have been anywhere near that starting 11 last night. So you've got to trust his judgment in a player, fair dues. But in terms of money spent, I put that on the board because, all right, you don't pay that sort of money. I mean, Ida, for talk's sake, he's a £3 million striker, Boycie. And he's a project man, you know what I mean?
We could have got him for 4.5, by the way, as well.
Was that?
We would have got him for 4.5 if we just signed him after the Scottish Cup.
I genuinely think when he goes over and disclose fee, Boycie, I think I did say at the start of this season that I don't think he'll beat Celtic in the next summer's pre-season. And I actually think that of Trusty and potentially Engels as well if things go the way I think they're going to go. But that aside, you know what I mean? I don't think you can't put it on Brendan Rodgers' door there. But I mean, don't forget when this is a strange man because when Rodgers came in, he came in about 2 weeks into the summer, if even that, and we were told Tilio, Yang, Kwon, and there were 2 or 3 others. They were already in process, so they had to come. It's funny how that window, all these cheap signings, that was a strange one for Celtic to be so proactive at the start of the window. It's funny how they were already all due to come in when Rodgers took over, and then Rodgers had to accept them all. But every other window before and since, any man just come in and been scrambling in the last 2 weeks. It's funny that, isn't it? You know, it doesn't add up to be you. I mean, you mentioned earlier on, just very quickly, if I can.
Yeah,
you
go
mentioned
on.
earlier on about the board releasing new communications, and seeing a realistic, logical world. Podcasts with the bigger leaks and that aside, you don't really tend to see like a communication for football clubs telling you their plan, right? So we're not really expecting that as such. But I think all the communication you need for the board is in black and white, is in Technicolor, it's in 4K HD. It's what you're watching on the park, Boycie. We don't need to know the plan, we need to see the plan. But the fact that we can't see the plan, we don't know the plan, and Rodgers is having to front up. Rodgers got asked about this last night, actually, why he's always the one answering the questions. He said, "Listen, it's my privilege to be here, and if that's my job to answer it."
I like that.
I thought he answered that pretty well.
I like that as well. I'm glad you mentioned that.
That's a seasoned pro. But the reason why I think why he's not just gone gung ho and the rest of it is, well, he is slightly, but see, every time you speak to the media, Boycie, you're basically doing a job interview. Other directors, other CEOs, other clubs look at a person, then see how they carry themselves, see how they answer difficult questions, see if these guys are going to be the buffer when things go right and things go wrong. And if you're throwing your club under the bus, this is the way they might see it, rightly or wrongly, he's looked too long in the tooth not to know how to say something and say it in a way that could harm Brendan Rodgers as a brand. You know what I mean? And I don't think I think he's a clever man. Anytime he speaks, 9 times out of 10, I think he's speaking, you know, he's methodically. You know what I mean? But I think he's getting hung with to drive with the club. But I do also think he can't pick and choose when he can't sit and tell the media in Scotland for the last 10 days or so, stop asking questions about transfers, but then instantly jump on it when it gets asked a question when Celtic have a bad result, because it was instantly giving us answers that you go, that's quite a loaded answer to a loaded question. But before, when it was just running them all games and all that, and Celtic were winning, it's like, I don't want to answer these questions.
Yeah, you've got to pick and choose your moments as well, though, Matt. And I think with regards to this, and I take your point with the job interview thing. I think from Brendan's point, from a personal point of view, or a selfish point, or a career point of view, you're probably bang on the money with that, to be honest. Here's the other side of it. The more interviews from the board's point of view that they put him out to, the more bait they're laying out time and time again for him to trip himself up.
Yeah.
For him to have one of those moments where he just loses his cool. For one of those questions just to trigger him enough to go back to, you know, the manager who was clipped up when he left last time with the Terminado, a million wingers and all this stuff. And I think they have let him do all the media bidding for precisely that. They want to build up their dossier of evidence, if you like, as to why Brendan was working his ticket. And the only way to do that is to get him in front of that camera every time, on time, to all the journalists, all the fan media, for questions all matter Celtic. And when there's that much bait out there, they're hoping for as many bites as they can get over the next 6 months. Because when they get that, it'll be, again, as I say, they do very well about the transfer record and stuff. They'll watch it just start to stir in the fan base that, actually, when you think about it, he was working his ticket. He is a rat again. This is rat times 2. This is what he does. Trust me, I think there's a lot of that involved why they're remaining silent. Is he hung out to dry? No. And he's right to remind you, he's as privileged person as there are in the world when it comes to a lot of our feelings, because he's a manager of Glasgow Celtic. And I thought it was firstly a classy answer, but I'm also going to be honest, Matt, I thought it was an honest answer.
Well,
and I think he has to, you know, sort of pull back sometimes and go, fuck, yeah, that is what I am. And you're not going to fuck this up for me, probably, his afterthought that he doesn't say out loud. Where we're at right now is a situation where I do believe we could still sign a player for the second leg. Now,
No,
can you not?
no, I think so.
Oh, someone tells in the chat. I thought you still could.
I hope so, boys, but I don't see any movement just now coming in for. I think we fly out on Sunday, don't we? And look at that pussy guy, what the fuck his name is. He's not even made a minute yet because he's not to speed. Anybody we get in won't be up to speed.
Come on.
By the way, I watched a video earlier on, and you seen that guy pussy warm up in the second half. My God, the enthusiasm of Georgios Samaras woke up for a night out, boys. You ought to see it. He's on that Blair McNally's YouTube channel. You just see him. And I've never all my life. I remember one time I was sitting at Celtic Park and I seen Paul Lambert, Stefan Honcho, and one other Celtic player. And Celtic were getting beat 2-0 at half time. And I remember the Lisbon Lionstorms going fucking bananas. They were tackling each other and throwing the ball at each other and running about at half time. I remember about dozens of folk gone bananas at the three players. It was Honcho, Lambert, somebody else. They were giggling and tickling and throwing the ball at each other. And it was, to me, it was just as bad as that watching that guy last night. You know what I mean? It was awful to watch. I just seen, it was like, they're running to do that wee step over thing. It was really bad to watch for a guy who was at a Champions League club, Champions League qualification. It was as if he was told, go on the side of the pitch and just be seen. It was pretty awful to watch, to be honest with you. And that's the kind of guys we're getting in, you know. And let's just say Celtic signed Vardy this morning. Best case scenario, a 39-year-old, as you said, who's trained by a personal trainer, he's not going to be Celtic first team ready for 4 or 5 weeks, 3-4 weeks.
Till he's 40.
And he's 40. So, do you honestly think that, I don't talk about you here, I'm not trying to answer your question this way, but do you honestly think that anybody that's going to come in on Thursday or Friday or Saturday or even Sunday is going to be up to speed at Celtic when anytime we buy a player it takes 3 weeks? I mean, we got this boy last year. Thank God he never played, but we got that big guy for Liverpool, and it's like 3-4 days before a derby match. He's supposed to be the saving grace. Phillips, it was. Oh, good, we've got a centre back now. Aye, good, we've got a centre back now. Fast forward to Sunday morning, he's on the team sheet, and Roger says, "Oh no, he's not Boltford just now. He's not fit enough. He'll take a few weeks to get into the swing of things." And that's what. See, anything that happens just now, even if Free come in tonight, I don't think anyone's going to feature. I mean, we're at a stage now that anybody.
It looks like they can't feature based on the comments coming in anyway. So
I think the deadline was.
You were right.
Midnight on Tuesday, and I see the fact of the matter is. Same as selling Kyogo before the Bayern Munich game. The board are actually speaking. The board are speaking to you and me loud and clear. There's no hidden messages. There's no nothing. Loud and clear. Any message you want for the board, boys, as I say, it's in glorious technicolor. It's there if you want to see it. Look on the park and see Ralston at right back in the Champions League, Skills at left back in the Champions League, and then Trusty slotting in as second choice centre back alongside Cameron Carter-Vickers, who's a shadow himself. A midfield that's all over the place. Dyson Maeda, who's our best striker and best winger. James Forrest, who's our only winger that's worth a fuck. Other than Maeda. And you've got Yang coming on, as my dad said, for his usual 5-minute cameo. 5 minutes, Yang will play good for 5 minutes, then he turns back into Yang again. And I'm just, it's just, Celtic fans are quite educated when it comes to football. Not about tactics, but we're not a good player when we see a good player. We know a bad team when we see one, boys. And this team is fucking stinking. This team is stinking. I listened to a podcast, and I don't want to name them the other day, they're right. But they called the win over Falkirk impressive. And I was sitting but listening to it, and I thought, if I ever hear a Celtic fan tell me that a 4-1 win at home against Falkirk is impressive, then we must have dropped standards beyond what I can.
Let's take that bit aside, though, Mark. But see what you did touch on earlier in the show, and it does relate then back to the Falkirk game. The one thing I've felt, but regardless of what you think of Falkirk, forget it's Falkirk, could have been anyone. The attitude and application Celtic showed on Friday. Forget who the opposition was. The intensity we played with. right? I thought it was a big step up from the first 2 games, albeit I quite like the Rolls Royce nature of being able to just cruise to a 2-0 win at Pittodrie now, and you get no pats in the back for it. I'm okay with that sort of level for Celtic now, for it just to be a kind of, I went up there, never looked like losing, 1-2-0 comfortably. Brilliant. Then it felt like Friday night, there's a big game coming. I don't mean that game itself, but signs in the loom here because the players looked like they were now beginning to go through going through the gears, yes. I expected to see that replicated again. That's where we're at. That's what was just coming in. Just as we're beginning to just go through the gears, as you say, Matt, we're just getting into our full swing. And yet, I seen a performance that I generally think is so bizarre saying it, but if a football team could do charades and you watch that first half performance, says, what are you? You'd say Celtic summer transfer window. But it embodied it. The whole dull nature of it. And by the way, not just the team. I know you didn't go to the game, but obviously you're watching it, but fully invested, Matt. The silence around the ground very quickly. The way it changed from the optimism at the start and obviously that encouragement that we expect the team to get. But I knew if this doesn't look like it's our day or look like it's going, I thought it would turn, and all the other mood music comes into the stadium. It's a mad energy that can be formed. And in that case, I thought the silence and weird atmosphere from the stands was again symbolic of the transfer window. The team's performance was symbolic of the transfer window. And the transfer window itself is symbolic of the regime in charge that have been there far too long.
Well, spot on, mate. I actually think you mentioned Axel Miller, and I remember during the COVID season that your man was saying, you look at Celtic's strategy just now, it's summed up when you look at the manager and the team, just fat and lazy. You know what I mean? And that I was to that effect. You know what I mean? And I think we're seeing that just now. We look at the players on the park. It's just summed up. It's like square pegs and round holes. Just let's see what happens, and that's where the board's strategy. If you look at a strategy, I mean, there was a tweet I seen last night. Somebody said, "Look, I sat just next to the directors, or just below them," and there was a guy again. Not the picture you saw last night. That picture's an old picture, but somebody again was giving Michael Nicholson and Peter Lawwell a tight. Like Mackay as well. He needs brought up as well. Chris Mackay, I think his name is. I mean, he's a decision maker. John Mackay, that's the one.
Oh no, no, that's the one who left. Sorry, Don Mackay's the one that was there years ago.
No, I think it's Chris Mackay. I think it is. Sorry, anyway, no, it's fine. These guys need called it, but they don't. They sit in the padded chairs. They look stone faced, whether you're winning 5-0 or getting beat 5-0. They seem emotionless. They don't feel attached to the club. We're told they're 24 hours, 7 day a week Celtic men.
World class.
They work tirelessly.
Get what you pay for.
Yeah. Well,
was that the quote? Was that what they said about the salaries?
I get you paid for it. Yeah.
That is unreal, eh?
I would have said, well, when you pay £1.5 million for a winger to replace the one you sold for 25 million, or
you get what you pay for.
When you get £1 million left back to replace the 25 million pound one, or when you tell a Celtic fan that it's £120 for a t-shirt and £700 for a season ticket, and then you get dished up players who
that was the cost of 1990.
And by the way, boys, I mean, I think we'll get Tony Cascarino up front now. I think Tony Cascarino is probably
he was £1 million. He was £1 million. He's the same price as a lot of the players were signing into.
I think he's better than Adamida, if I'm being totally honest with you.
Oh, Adamida was different. But I know, I hear you. And the fee for Cascarino, I'm trying to say, Matt, the fee for Cascarino
that was a lot
actually
of money,
equates to what we pay for players now. How mad is that? One last topic before we go, because I know we're going to be sharp on the hour, mates. We've got 10 minutes to run.
I've got a 5 minutes left after that since I was buffering and all the rest of it, if you want.
No worries. Cool. So, interestingly, and I'd sent you it last night, I had seen an article post by Stephen McGowan, who's obviously, Mark, it's fair to say anyone in the Celtic fan base now when they hear Stephen McGowan sort of repost it or post a story, we kind of take it like that's coming for reliability. Do you know what I mean? That's pretty sound. I would say, would you argue there's anyone ahead of him in the queue in terms of rubber stamping as a rubber stamper a Celtic story? I would say it would, when he kind of puts his name on it.
Him and Scott Burns, but I'd probably say he's number one, aye.
Cool. So he's posted his article last night saying Celtic's rainy day, which of course we've spoken about many times in the bus, hence why I jumped on it. He says Celtic's rainy day may be coming sooner than they thought, or something like that. So I've obviously reposted it, quote tweeted it, with something that we said on the channel. I think it was a debate with me and yourself. It might be me and Jono. And I'd says, rainy days are totally avoidable, when you're in control of the weather. And last night, of course, I think I said something like, there shouldn't be any rainy days when you've got 100 million reasons to control, to choose the weather or whatever it was I'd said. And interestingly, for someone who is clearly got connections within the club, clearly a reliable person for them to go to, as much as he's reliable to keep the sort of info hush-hush until told to release it and things like that. It was interesting he liked that. Now, he's not someone who he must get quote tweeted, Mark. Think about his post, calling him a wee fanny and that probably for no reason all the time. You see quote tweets number going up. He probably dreads reading them. And I thought it was interesting. He's seen that and felt the need to like it. I sent it to you last night. And that tells you, obviously, when you're the guy who's covering Celtic, right, it's quite obviously he's a Celtic fan, right?
Aye.
And that's when you're going, even his frustrations now are creeping over the edge of being rational in terms of thinking like career move and stuff. He's like, nah, like it, because he is sick to death of the people who technically are his paymasters in a roundabout way or keep him setting his clout high. Even he's now kind of agreeing with us who are calling them out for what they absolutely are. See that Stephen Kennedy, by the way, just very quickly. That is like, see, every time you're on, mate, I don't mind a bit of banter, but that is like the third post now you've made about my appearance tonight. And every time you come on, it's about how I look. It's weird, mate. Like, just stick to the football. You'll be fine. Anyway, Mark, sorry about that. On you go.
Fucking fashion policy then, isn't it? For the first time in the last week, some daubers mentioned. No, he's not a dauber. That guy, I'm sure that guy's soon. But somebody else is a dauber mentioning your haircuts and the rest of it. Stick to your own baldy patch. This person anyway. But anyway, no, I don't agree with you, boys. There's these guys are professionals. You know what I mean? They've got their own inside scoops. They get their own sources. I think at one point he was Peter Lawwell's lackey, in my opinion. I think he was getting a lot of stuff. So you probably find that. I reckon there's change coming to Celtic. I think there's too many things not being addressed. There's too many areas of the club that are just being totally neglected, that there isn't something happening behind the scenes. I think Fergus McCann coming in 2 weeks ago, unannounced, no posted on any websites, no, oh, here comes the bunnet, no celebration scarves or hats by the club to sell. And then right after the match, he's on a train with the fans as a people person heading back down to wherever he's gone to. Found that very strange. Is this the Dave King finder's fee we're going to be seeing here? Is this somebody looking into Celtic? And when there's 3 or 4 American businesses inside Scottish football already just now, and I just smelt something that day. And we all know, we all think that Dermot Desmond has to sell his shares for Celtic to be hands to be changed over. He only owns something like 30% of Celtic. He's a majority shareholder. The fact that actually the fans are the biggest shareholder. So there's other areas of the club, because there's the second biggest ownership of Celtic is a company, as I told you before, called Linsell Train. They own about 20% of Celtic. It's a major hand.
You saying that to me?
Aye. So that's an umbrella company. So there could be a guy sitting in a beach in Jamaica who doesn't even know who Celtic are, but he might own 2% of Celtic. He gets his dividends, etc. Right?
Sure.
I don't know. I just feel like there's too many things getting neglected. There's too many I don't give a fuck attitudes. There's too many areas of the stadium. The training ground, I told you, it looks like an abandoned mega structure you see on Discovery Channel. So many things happening.
Is there narcissism involved? Ego an ego out of control where I almost feel like they can't, and I could be wrong here, but this is pure speculation. This is what it's all about. I think, sorry, excuse me, that was the beer coming back there. I feel like there's a fear within the guys in the boardroom of watching on as Celtic push on if they were to relinquish their control. And there's a fear that their legacy gets made to look like exactly what sensible folk like me and you can see it for right now. And that's nowhere near as impressive as they want the holds to believe. And I have got a feeling there is a huge part of them that cling to it. Hence why, within 6 months, Peter Lawwell's back as non-executive chairman. I mean, that was me actually trying to say that as if I was doing all the letters like the wrong way, like capitals and small letters. Non-executive chairman. I mean, I think of that and I go, if he's the only guy with chairman in the room, how can no one think he's not the chairman? Celtic are like, they're buying it. They're buying it. I told you. Look, they're arguing with Boycie. Boycie's getting absolute pelters on the, for one of them. That wee fanny's getting pelters, on the socials. Everyone's jumping on it and saying how ridiculous the notion is. Look, we told you he's non-executive. Look how many of them believe it. Kim, what we'll do, right? We'll prove. I know they're not talking about me. I'm just saying this hypothetically. We'll prove Boycie right, but we're not telling any cunt. And let's see how many of them actually pulls up on it. Or will they all go, that's what I said the whole time. So Celtic start just referencing Peter Lawwell and his, at an AGM or done a wee fucking quote somewhere or visited some fucking, or was it a Celtic Foundation? Peter Lawwell, Celtic chairman. They just took the non-exec out.
Aye.
No declaration of it because it was all bollocks. Now, if you think a guy with a tenure of that length, right, at the club and is still in the boardroom right now with all his cohorts, all his cronies who've all just changed job titles, went up in wages. Don't know if you've seen, by the way, the rumoured salary sheet mark that's going around Twitter right now. Peter Lawwell's jumped up from 40,000 a year non-exec to now 120 grand a year, right? Michael Nicholson, 870 grand a year. But these guys that are in that room, that's an incidental thing, right? These guys in that room, Mark, you get what you pay for, are all the same guys that worked under Lawwell when he was chief exec. And people think he's got nothing to do with how the fucking movie looks the exact same. If it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a fucking duck. Do you know what I mean? I don't understand how you have to explain this to people.
But it was obviously you can't have. It's like the person who used to run the company coming back part-time. They still run the company. They're still going to be asking. Folk are going to be asking the same questions to them. You know what I mean? They're going to be, what's your opinion on that, Peter? Well, I know what I would do here. You know what I mean? Of course, and it's funny enough. I mean, he came in.
I think he might be worse. He might be over their shoulder. So what are you going to do with that one then?
Well, especially if
putting that heat on. Do you know what I mean?
Well, especially if folk, especially if what you call him, Dermot Desmond. We all believe that Dermot Desmond and Lawwell are kind of like hand in hand, you know what I mean? At least he's Dermot Desmond's puppet, you know what I mean? If that is the case, you know what I mean, then of course he's going to have the whip hand over the full club. It doesn't matter, like you said about job titles. I mean, look at that film, The Casino, that Robert De Niro said, you just change your title to the food and beverage manager, to the waiter. You're still going to be running the place anyway, you know what I mean? No matter what your job title is.
Oh,
you know
totally, man.
Totally. We were told on Twitter. In fact, we did that night. We did an ad hoc pod that night. It's still available online.
Wow,
two of us went off or not about the fact that he's coming back, because we said, wait till you see what happens. We're going to start seeing transfer windows go backwards, ambition go backwards, and then see if it doesn't go the way we want it to. We're going to blame him anyway. So they've created their own monster. But he's actually quite a convenient monster, Boycie, because Michael Nicholson has only just come into focus recently. Mackay, we don't even know his first name, but I think it's Chris Mackay. He's the second biggest earner at the club. You know what I mean? Him and Nicholson are the highest earners. Yeah. Well, at board level. You know what I mean? These guys are the decision makers on paper.
Non-executive wages.
You could walk past us in the street, boys. Do you know what I mean? And you've got a board of directors who are that anonymous that they could be sitting in the stands, boys, and nobody would recognise them. There's no communication. There's no obvious thinking. There's no joined up thinking. The only time that they want to communicate ways is on a Monday morning when they try to sell us the new training range for that month, or the new kit, or the Adidas Irish connection, or something along those lines. It's some utter pish they're trying to fling out the window at an exuberant price. I've had enough. The fans have had enough. I think the tension is getting to the stage where there will be extra security, not just within the stadium like it did last Friday, probably outside the stadium and Saturday coming. Because another bad result Saturday, boys, I can assure you, there'll be sharks getting flung. I can assure you. Because the people, and by the way, you talk about a club being lucky, i.e. Rangers in Europe. Celtic are lucky because you imagine that the home tie was the second leg here, and we get put. That stadium would have been full of sharks. There have been people getting after fucking
true, man.
So that Lawwell is a convenient buffer for the board of directors. And you know what? Maybe he's within the club because he's big enough and brave enough to take the abuse every day of the week. And
I think it's all his strategy, mate. I honestly, Celtic Board comes back. Great to have you watching. He's saying if Lawwell was to have no influence, as was getting honestly pushed back at many of us, by the way, James. Honestly, if he has no influence, what is his purpose? We argued that at the time as well. He grounds conspiracy theories and he unsettles the manager. And I think I definitely don't think Peter Lawwell wanted Brendan back, and I know that now gets. The mad thing is, we know how it ended first time round. Yet, certain fan channels that are clearly still just trying to tick boxes and say, "Hi Celtic, we're really good. Like we're nice guys. Don't forget us." Like are actually saying it's a conspiracy theory to think maybe Rodgers could be undermined by people we know he fell out with only 5 years ago, that resulted in him walking away. We know that relationship had broken down completely. So why the fuck would we suddenly think? Why would it be a conspiracy to think maybe it was never mended again, and maybe they would be undermining him? But again, I'll just finish off the comment. He says, "What's his function if he does nothing?" Again, Peter Lawwell being in the same building where he's worked as the chief exec with the big swagger, making 17 million? Some say maybe taking in wages,
17.5 million or something,
right? And so think about your ego in that same workplace is out of control. You ain't doing nothing if you're in there. He's not a distraction, though, Mappy. This is the only bit I would disagree with. He's not a distraction, mate. He is the conductor. He's the guy for these other people in the boardroom. They can give themselves whatever title they want. As you say, Mark, they could be the fucking pie salesman tomorrow, right? They could be in the pie stall, or they could be called chief exec. It's a Peter Lawwell production you're watching right now. And that really is the front, left and centre of the issues we all forecasted the day Celtic had the balls to say he never really left. He's back as non-exec. Just taste the water, because results have went well recently. And do you know what annoys me with that, Mark? This is what annoys me the most. See, when results do go well, these conversations we're having tonight, it's drawn 220 watching live right now. See, if we'd won 3-0 last night, mate, we'd have 100 live right now, and we'd be getting called doom merchants. But it'd be the exact same state of affairs off the field that are going on. Yeah, everything changes.
Look at St Mirren game. We got a last minute winner against St Mirren. A god awful team. Celtic fans, what was the response? Here we go, 10 in a row. That was the response in the 90th minute. Instead of fucking letting that club and board of directors know that we're not happy with what we're watching. If you start winning games, boys, saying Adi forgets Peter Lawwell's in the building, Adi forgets Michael Nicholson's steering this motor off a cliff. It's ridiculous, you know what I mean? And I mean the most important role within the club, if you're wanting longevity and continuity, the most important role was supposed to be some sort of director of football. We sideswived that and appointed Peter Lawwell's son. If that's not an indication of what's going on at the club. Oh, I mean, you've Gordon Stratton. His two sons are at the club. You know what I mean? Gavin Stratton and his son's some sort of scout somewhere.
Stratton not coming as an advisor when he was like a role at Dundee. Yeah, so he came in the Postecoglou.
He done a 3 month look at the club.
Oversight
And
because
what-
Ange Postecoglou's reign had started poorly.
And then
That's
what
was
happened
it.
is, so then 3 months later, nothing changed. So it was I told the club, everything you're doing is spot on. But boys, can I just say, Gordon Strachan's always the guys that we look to praise the board. Your man O'Neill, he's always praising Dermot Desmond and the board and all the rest of it. These guys get wheeled out very often to praise the board. So
Yeah.
it's what the Boise they do. You know what I mean?
But a lot of it, see if you actually listen, I listen a lot of Martin O'Neill, and on it, like, because he's on TalkSport a lot, and I always listen to it at work. It's always Desmond he references, mate.
Yeah.
Desmond.
I know. But
I've never heard him mention Peter Lawwell, mate, to be honest.
But Dermot Desmond's is a major part of what's going wrong with that club, boys. He's an absent
Well, I
landlord.
don't doubt that either.
I think he spikes. I think he does things to spite the fans. I mean, I remember that Alison McConnell, was it the journalist during COVID? She'd read the Celtic Opus, that big book, or I guess you call it that. And she did. There's a quote for Dermot Desmond in it. He says, "If I'm in a room with 1 million people, and they all tell me to do one thing, I'll do the opposite. That's my character." You know what I mean? Talk about how he made his money. And I'll get no doubt in my mind that is his strategy at Celtic Football Club as well. I mean, the guy put in 30 million and he shares it worth something like £200 million or something stupid like that. Don't think that as a blip on that guy's portfolio. He's a billionaire on paper. Don't think that £200 million is a blip in that guy's. And guys, you know, it's fuck all to him. It's a lot of money to him, trust me. You know what I mean? Probably 10% of his overall wealth is within Celtic. You know what I mean? Let's be honest. He's not Elon Musk. You know what I mean? On paper, he's worth a couple of billion, and about 10% of that's inside Celtic. So there should be at least some focus on Celtic. You know what I mean?
It's so funny as well. See, when you touched on, I want to just cut in here because I know we're very pushed for time, Matt. See, when you mentioned Mark Lawwell there, right? Let's just say, I mean, it's utterly ridiculous, right? Just in name that he got that job, Peter Lawwell's son. Not only has musical chairs arrived and Peter Lawwell's back kidding on, he's not, just watching for the sides, 40 grand a year, no bad wages for doing fuck all, by the way, which nobody seems to mention. More than the average fan, by the way, who pays for a season ticket, that wage would be. But you all are happily to soak up that he doesn't actually do anything. So why are you happy with him getting 40 grand a year then if he does fuck all? Anyway, that's just one bit, right? Then it's his son who comes in, which of course is pushing it a wee bit like, come on guys, wake up. Like, that's a joke. Let's just flip it though and say only two new faces have been added at boardroom level with a sort of focus on the progression of the overseeing the football sort of strategy and Celtic as a sort of club. And that is Don Mackay. And then you've got Mark Lawwell. Lawwell seems to be the recruitment side of things, but he was using, remember, all the new tech at Man City, all the sort of, right? But let's just say that's a progressive, innovative thing that everyone will be using, Mark. Who knows, right? Forget his surname's Lawwell. But the two guys who were brought in with innovation in each of their sort of fields, both left within Don Mackay 6 months, 3 months, and Mark Lawwell within 12.
Aye.
It's also interesting.
Aye. They
don't like it, mate.
They are so in amongst that club that they're cemented into the place. They will only leave one way and.
But what I'm trying to say, see those who've left, they don't like it. Do you agree with that? Like, they're seeing
of course
new ideas that expose them.
Because if somebody comes in with an idea that makes Celtic, you know, to broaden this, we've got a high watermark at Celtic, right? Of course we have, but I think the club's holding us well below that high watermark, so that they can expand and they can make them look like they've been doing to fuck all for the last 20 years. I get your point on that. You're absolutely spot on. I don't think anybody would disagree that Celtic are.
Is that the exposure again I'm talking about, though?
So, you know what I mean?
See how I was saying to you, one of their big fears is if they did just let go like they know they should, and maybe Lawwell got close to doing and then it's like done a U-turn on, is because they couldn't handle the thought of watching Celtic if it's to go fucking and kick off like we think it still could and is more than capable of doing, right? They couldn't handle that, right? Because it exposes them. Do you think even when they're in charge and it's a new face coming in, if Celtic pull in a direction that's so different from what 21 years of conditioning, I call it, Other people might call it just being accustomed to. I call it conditioning. See if we pulled in a direction that was so obvious it was said new face, whether it be Don Mackay or Matt Lawwell. If my theory is right that they would hate to see Celtic fly without them, do you think they'd be as weak as also to go, oh, don't like that. That new idea sounds good. We're under threat a wee bit. So they didn't want Dominic. That's why these guys, mate, don't last over a year.
And that's how they were kicked out. You know what I mean? Anybody's got a fit. You remember when Nicholson came in as the CEO? It was described as a team player, a real team player. That's what the announcement said. That says it all. That's saying somebody that's on our wavelength, it's on our trajectory. Nobody that's going to cause waves, want to broaden the club's horizons or whatever. I mean, it's obvious for anybody that wants to see. And just something, if we go out and sign 3 players tomorrow and totally change the landscape for Celtic this season, these conversations still need to happen. They still need to happen.
If we win 3-0 in Kazakhstan, they still need to happen.
Boy, see if we win 2-0 on Saturday, they'll be here we go 2 in a row to the stand.
Yeah.
And it's been riling me up since I heard it. It's a Mirren, you know what I mean? And there's fickle and there's just borderline stupid. I think a lot of people walk in with their eyes closed and their fingers in their ears, and that's all they want to know about Celtic Boys. They don't want to know about how it's getting run. It's the same people,
and I don't blame that.
It's the same people who didn't listen to folk tell us in the 90s that the club's going to go bust. It's the same folk who told people Gizeh pamphlets and flung them in the rain at Celtic Park. The same folk who don't want to hear anything negative about Celtic. I always say the difference between Celtic and Rangers in the media is Rangers will tell a Rangers ex-player, a Rangers pundit will only ever tell the Rangers fans what they want to hear, whereas Celtic-minded people are more likely to be honest about the club and are honest about the style of play, honest about transfer dealings, and we're still seeing that just now. And I don't want that to change, boys. But see, when you've got a group of fans within the club who don't want to hear it, that message just starts to get diluted. I don't care what happens Saturday or Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever day it is we play the qualifier. I don't care what happens. The same problems that are arisen 17 years ago when this board of directors took over are still here just now. We've got a club that's tying our feet to the bottom of the pool and we're trying to reach the top. And no matter who's in charge, no matter what player we sign, no matter what breath of fresh air we've got for a short period of time, that won't change until these dinosaurs are put at the club. Simple as that.
I think that's a brilliant way to round it off, Matt. And thank you so much for your contributions tonight. I think we've had over 200 for most of the show, mate. So that's been fantastic. I just want to give a big shout out to Dava Wilson. I don't know if it's meant to be Davy Wilson or Dava Wilson, but he contributed a wee donation in 1999, which is very unusual on the channel. So a massive thanks for you doing that, mate. And what I'm going to do is send it over to Michael Nicholson the new, and hopefully we'll have, I don't know, a striker's left toe. Right, Matt, we're out of here. Thank you for tonight, mate. Brilliant to have you back in the bus. Look forward to seeing you all next time we're on. When will it be? Who fucking knows? See you later.